The dense forest surrounding Konoha was eerily silent, the only sound the rustling of leaves as Naruto Uzumaki sprinted through the trees, his breath steady despite the urgency in his steps. The mission scroll clutched in his hand felt heavier than it should, its crimson seal pulsing with an unnatural energy. Behind him, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha kept pace, their expressions tense. "Naruto, slow down." Sakura called, her green eyes scanning the shadows. "We don't even know what we're dealing with yet." Naruto gritted his teeth, his blue eyes flashing with determination. "That old man at the ruins said this scroll was cursed. If we don't stop it, who knows what'll happen." Sasuke's Sharingan flickered to life, his gaze sharp. "Then we destroy it before it activates. Simple." But it was already too late. The scroll trembled violently, and before any of them could react, it exploded in a burst of dark chakra. A shockwave rippled through the air, sending the trio tumbling backward. Naruto skidded to a stop, his palms scraping against the rough bark of a tree. What the hell was that? He growled, pushing himself up. The answer came instantly, shadows shifted around them, figures stepping out from the trees. Naruto's breath caught in his throat. Staring back at him were dozens of copies of himself, each with the same spiky blonde hair, the same orange jumpsuit, the same fierce grin. Sasuke's hand flew to his kunai pouch. "Clones?" he muttered, but Sakura shook her head, her fists clenched. "No. Their chakra feels real. This isn't a jutsu, it's something else." The Naruto copies tilted their heads in unison, their voices echoing like a twisted chorus. "You thought you were special, huh? But there's nothing unique about you." The original Naruto's fists trembled. "Shut up. I don't know what kind of genjutsu this is, but I'll break it." Without hesitation, he formed a familiar hand sign. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." A dozen shadow clones materialized beside him, charging forward with identical battle cries. The forest erupted into chaos. Fists collided with fists, kunai clashed, and the air thrummed with the force of their blows. One of the cursed Narutos lunged, swinging a roundhouse kick aimed at the original's head. Naruto ducked, countering with a sharp uppercut that sent the clone staggering. But another was already behind him, driving an elbow into his spine. Pain flared, but Naruto twisted mid-fall, slamming a palm into the ground to flip himself upright. "You guys are just cheap copies," he roared, channeling chakra into his fist. Rasengan. The spinning sphere of energy slammed into one of the clones, sending it crashing through the trees. Sasuke moved like lightning, his Sharingan predicting every strike before it landed. A cursed Naruto hurled a barrage of shuriken, but Sasuke weaved through them effortlessly, his kunai flashing as he sliced through two clones in quick succession. Fire gathered in his lungs, and with a sharp exhale, he unleashed a blazing katen, Gokakyu no Jutsu. The inferno engulfed several clones, their screams fading into smoke. Sakura, meanwhile, relied on brute strength, her chakra-enhanced fists shattering the ground with every punch. A clone leapt at her, but she sidestepped, driving her fist into its stomach with enough force to send it flying into a boulder. But for every clone they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place. Naruto panted, sweat dripping down his face. "This isn't working." Sasuke's eyes narrowed. "We need to find the source. That scroll didn't just vanish, it's controlling them." Sakura nodded, cracking her knuckles. "Then we cut through them and find it." Naruto grinned despite the exhaustion. "Sounds like a plan." With renewed resolve, he reached deep into his chakra reserves, the familiar red aura of the Nine Tails power flickering around him. His nails sharpened into claws, his whisker marks darkening. "Let's end this." The cursed Narutos hesitated for the first time, their grins faltering as the original's chakra surged. Then, with a collective snarl, they attacked. Naruto moved faster now, his enhanced strength sending shockwaves with every strike. He grabbed one clone by the throat and slammed it into the ground, then spun to kick another into a tree. Sasuke's Chidori crackled to life in his palm, the piercing screech of 1,000 birds filling the air as he dashed forward, impaling 3 clones in a single thrust. Sakura's fists glowed with chakra, her cherry blossom impact cratering the earth beneath her enemies. But just as they gained the upper hand, the cursed Narutos began to change. Their eyes glowed an eerie yellow, their forms distorting as dark chakra enveloped them. One by one, they started to grow, their bodies twisting into monstrous versions of themselves, tails sprouting, teeth elongating, their laughter turning guttural. Naruto's blood ran cold. "No way. They're tapping into the Nine Tails chakra too?" Sasuke cursed under his breath. "This just got a lot harder." Sakura tightened her headband. "Then we fight harder." The battle raged on, the forest trembling under the force of their clash. Naruto's Rasengan collided with a cursed clone's own, the resulting explosion sending both flying. Sasuke's Amaterasu ignited the air, black flames consuming several beasts. Sakura's healing chakra stitched her wounds even as she delivered bone-shattering blows. But the clones kept coming, their numbers seemingly endless. Naruto's mind raced. There had to be a way to stop this, to prove he wasn't just another copy. He clenched his fists, his voice cutting through the chaos. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. And I'm not gonna lose to myself. The real fight had only just begun. The air crackled with tension as Naruto stood at the center of the cavern, surrounded by countless reflections of himself, each one a twisted echo of his own power. The cursed scroll's malevolent energy pulsed through the chamber, warping reality and amplifying his doubts into physical foes. His fists clenched, knuckles white, as he glared at the nearest clone, its eyes gleaming with eerie familiarity. All right, you fakes, he growled, let's see how long you last. The first wave lunged, their movements synchronized like a single entity. Naruto barely had time to react before a kunai grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. He gritted his teeth, forcing his body into a spinning evasion, his feet skidding across the stone floor. Shadow Clone Jutsu, he shouted, summoning his own reinforcements. The cavern erupted into chaos as orange-clad figures clashed, fists and feet colliding in a blur of motion. Naruto ducked under a sweeping kick, countering with an uppercut that sent one clone flying, only for two more to take its place. He could feel the strain already. These echoes weren't just copies, they were learning, adapting. Every move he made, they mirrored, but with a cold precision that sent chills down his spine. One clone feinted left, then twisted mid-air, driving a knee into his ribs. Naruto gasped, stumbling back, but he refused to fall. Not happening, he roared, channeling chakra into his palms. A Rasengan spiraled to life, its whirling energy casting jagged shadows across the walls. He thrust it forward, obliterating 3 clones in a single strike, but the victory was short-lived. From the smoke, a figure emerged, taller, darker, its features sharper. This wasn't just another echo. This was him, but different. The clone smirked, flexing its fingers as crimson chakra flickered around its body. Took you long enough, it taunted, its voice dripping with malice. You really think you can beat yourself? Naruto's stomach twisted. This wasn't just a test of strength, it was a battle against his own darkness. The dark clone moved first, a streak of red slicing through the air. Naruto barely raised his arms in time to block a devastating kick, the impact sending him skidding backward. His arms throbbed, but he couldn't afford to hesitate. He weaved hand signs, summoning a barrage of shadow clones to buy time. The dark clone scoffed, dispatching them with brutal efficiency, its movements fluid and merciless. Naruto's mind raced. He needed a new strategy, fast. Drawing on Kurama's chakra, golden energy flared around him, his whisker marks deepening. The dark clone's eyes narrowed. Finally getting serious? It sneered. Naruto didn't answer. He lunged, their fists colliding in a shockwave that rattled the cavern. The force of the blows sent cracked spider webbing through the ground beneath them. Naruto pushed harder, his muscles screaming, but the clone matched him blow for blow. Then, the clone did something unexpected. It smiled. You're still holding back, it whispered. In a flash, it vanished, reappearing behind him with a Rasengan already forming. Naruto twisted, but not fast enough, the attack grazed his side, tearing through his jacket and searing his skin. He gasped, but pain only fueled his resolve. Fine, he spat. If that's how you want to play. With a roar, he unleashed a massive Rasen Shuriken, the technique humming with destructive power. The clone's eyes widened, then it grinned, mimicking the move. The two attacks collided, the resulting explosion shaking the cavern to its core. Debris rained down as Naruto shielded his face, his ears ringing. When the dust cleared, the clone stood unharmed, its crimson aura intensifying. Pathetic, it muttered. You'll never win if you keep doubting yourself. Naruto's breath came in ragged gasps. Doubt? No, this wasn't about doubt. This was about acceptance. He'd faced his darkest thoughts before, and he'd conquered them. He straightened, meeting the clone's gaze. You're right, he admitted. I have doubted myself. But that's what makes me stronger. Kurama's chakra surged around him, brighter than ever, his form shifting as he tapped into a deeper power. The clone hesitated, just for a second, but it was enough. Naruto blurred forward, his speed unmatched. A fist connected with the clone's jaw, sending it reeling. Before it could recover, he was already above it, a Rasengan forming in each hand. This ends now, he bellowed, driving both attacks downward. The clone's scream was swallowed by the explosion, its body disintegrating into black mist. Silence fell. Naruto panted, his body aching, but his spirit unbroken. The remaining echoes flickered, their forms wavering before vanishing entirely. The cursed scroll's glow dimmed, its power spent. He'd done it. He'd faced his infinite reflections and emerged victorious. But as he turned to leave, a low chuckle echoed through the cavern. A figure stepped from the shadows, hooded, enigmatic. Impressive, the stranger mused. But the real test has only just begun. Naruto's eyes narrowed. The battle was over, but the war? That was just getting started. The air crackled with energy as Naruto stood at the center of the swirling vortex of his own echoes, each one a twisted reflection of his past, his doubts, his fears. The cursed scroll's power had reached its peak, and the infinite reflections of himself lashed out in unison, their attacks a storm of kunai, Rasengan's, and taijutsu strikes. Naruto gritted his teeth, his muscles burning from exhaustion, but his blue eyes blazed with unyielding resolve. He couldn't falter now, not when the fate of the hidden leaf, and perhaps the entire shinobi world, hung in the balance. Sasuke's Sharingan whirled as he darted between the clones, his Chidori slicing through the air with lethal precision. "TCH, you really know how to make a mess, Naruto," he muttered, though there was no real venom in his words. The two had fought side by side for too long for that. Still, the sheer number of echoes was overwhelming. Every time one fell, two more seemed to take its place, their movements synchronized, their attacks relentless. Sakura, her fists encased in chakra, shattered the ground beneath a group of clones, sending them tumbling, but even her monstrous strength had limits. She gasped for breath, her knuckles raw. "We can't keep this up forever." Naruto knew she was right. The cursed scroll fed on their doubts, their regrets, it was a battle as much within as without. He clenched his fists, feeling the weight of every failure, every moment he hadn't been strong enough. But then he remembered the faces of those who believed in him, Iruka, Kakashi, Jiraiya, Hinata. Their faith wasn't just a burden, it was his strength. With a roar, he slammed his palms together, summoning every ounce of Kurama's chakra. The golden cloak erupted around him, his whisker marks deepening as his power surged. "I won't let my own shadows define me." The echoes hesitated, just for a fraction of a second, but it was enough. Sasuke saw the opening, his Rinnegan flaring as he activated his Susanoo, its skeletal form expanding into a towering warrior of dark energy. Now, Naruto. Naruto didn't need to be told twice. He launched himself forward, a spiraling Rasengan forming in each hand, the sheer force of his movement tearing through the air like a comet. The echoes scrambled to counter, but they were too slow. Sasuke's Susanoo sword cleaved through their ranks, clearing a path, and Naruto slammed his Rasengans into the cursed scroll itself. The explosion of light was blinding. The scroll shattered, its dark energy recoiling like a wounded beast before dissipating into nothingness. The echoes flickered, their forms wavering like mirages, before vanishing one by one. Silence fell over the battlefield, broken only by the ragged breaths of the exhausted trio. Naruto collapsed to one knee, his chakra nearly depleted, but a grin tugged at his lips. "We did it." Sasuke staggered, his Susanoo flickering out as he steadied himself against a nearby rock. "Don't get cocky. That was too close." Sakura, despite her exhaustion, managed to smirk. "You two are impossible." But the victory wasn't just theirs. The destruction of the cursed scroll sent ripples through the fabric of reality itself. In the hidden leaf, the villagers felt an inexplicable shift, a lightness, as though a long-held tension had finally eased. The scroll's influence had stretched further than anyone realized, subtly twisting fates, amplifying conflicts. Now, with its power broken, the future was rewritten. Alliances once strained found new strength, old wounds began to mend, and the path forward was no longer clouded by its sinister whispers. As dawn broke over the battlefield, Naruto stood, gazing at the horizon. The sun's warmth on his face felt like a promise. The fight had pushed them to their limits, but they had broken through, not just as warriors, but as people. Sasuke exhaled, his usual aloofness softened by something almost like contentment. "Let's go home." And so they did, their steps lighter despite their exhaustion, knowing that whatever came next, they would face it together. The echoes of the past had been silenced, but the future? That was theirs to shape.